Hi. We all like baby animals. I mean, we love playing with kittens and puppies, and when we're out and we see baby cows or lambs or birds or whatever, we love the idea of baby animals. Well, today we're going to introduce you to another baby animal, one that most people never get to see, and that is a baby trout. My name is Ethan Rotman. I coordinate the Classroom Aquarium Education Program for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. My job is to work with teachers to make this experience accessible to people like you. We literally set up hundreds of aquariums in classrooms so you get to watch the process. Well, I think we all know this is not a normal year because you're at home and we're not in school. So we've arranged to do this in the home of my friend Tom so that you can watch and experience it from the comfort of your home. Now, admittedly, you're not going to get to press your nose up and feel the cold glass or hear the bubble of the chiller, but you will get to enjoy the experience. And if you really want, go ahead and press your nose up against the screen of your computer. It's almost the same thing. One of the best parts of my job is I get to work with a lot of great people around the Bay Area. Many of these are fly fishermen, they are teachers, they are environmental educators, they work for museums or water agencies. And today and over the next several weeks, you're going to get to meet many of them. As a matter of fact, just today, you're going to meet my friend Tom, who's a fly fisherman and a conservationist. You're going to meet Shelley, who's an environmental educator, who's going to talk to us about fish and how they grow and develop. And then the final stage, you're going to get to meet Derek, who is a real-life fisheries biologist, and he's going to answer questions sent in from, well, people like you, students. Now, over the next several weeks, we're going to come to you once a week, and you're going to get to watch as these eggs hatch, transform into alevin, and then into baby fish, fry, and then you'll join us when we release them into the Russian River. Now, times are a little different right now. We all are giving up a lot of things. You're at home learning, not in your classroom learning. Hopefully you're washing your hands a lot. You're practicing good social distancing. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank your teachers as well, for they've got the very hard job of going from doing what they do best, which is, of course, to teach, to teaching online or from a distance. And that's a really hard job. But if we all continue this work, we can flatten the curve and get our lives back to some kind of normal as soon as possible. Now, later in the broadcast, we're going to be telling you where you can go so you can click into a camera that's in a fish tank so you can watch it from the comfort of your home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if that's what you want. We're going to give you information on where you can send questions to for our fisheries biologist, Derek, to answer. But for right now, I want to introduce you to my friend Tom Greer. He's an engineer, he's a fly fisherman, he's an environmental advocate, he's an inventor, and he's received permission to have a tank in his home just for the purpose of helping you. Hey Tom, you ready for us?
Hi, my name's Tom Greer, and I'm going to be your coach for Tank Time with Tom. In a few seconds, John from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife will be delivering our steelhead eggs. Then we'll go into the house, and I'll show you the eggs going into the tank. Thanks for watching.
Good morning, everybody. It is absolutely a beautiful day here, and we have just seen John pull up from Department of Fish and Wildlife. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm good. I'm John Melquist from the Department of Fish and Wildlife, and I've just picked up some fish eggs for you guys up at the Warm Springs Hatchery at Lake Sonoma. I'll take them out of my cooler in the back of this car and put them in your cooler, and you can take it from there.
Fantastic.
So let's see what John brought. Inside the cooler, he left us a styrofoam cup with about 50 steelhead eggs in it. And they're on ice to keep them cold because the fish like a cold, clean environment. And some fish food, a little pinch of that once they get into their alevin and fry stage. And then we've got a Department of Fish and Wildlife permit, and that's necessary for all the paperwork that's tied to this. So let's go ahead and close this up, get these eggs into the tank and we can see what they look like in the water, which will be really fun. So let's put our permit in here and move into the house. Hi, we're inside now in front of the tank, and this is where the eggs will hatch and where they will emerge into alvin and fry. And I brought the cooler in. I've got a few things here I want to show you before we get into the tank. But you'll notice we've got our permit attached to the front. This is the tank. It's covered with styrofoam to keep it cold. There's a chiller on the back to make the water cold. The fish like it in the low 50-degree range. And you'll notice when I take the cover off, I do have a thermometer in the back, digital thermometer. Probably hard to see from there, but once you look at the video, it's in that corner right there. So you'll see it from the video. This is our camera, so when we live stream, you'll be able to see from this perspective. You'll actually be looking through and right into the eggs, which will be really cool. We'll get some close-up shots of that. So what I'm gonna do is transition over to the eggs. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the cooler, which is right here. We have the eggs inside, and there's a small towel, and underneath that, we have a gauze pack. Check that out. There's about 50 eggs in there. And if we look really closely, we could see some eyes moving around, which will be pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and move over to the table here. We'll open up the gauze and see what we've got. So here we are looking at the top view of the cup. I've removed the gauze, which is right here, and that contains the eggs. So let's see what these look like. I'm gonna go ahead and carefully open this up. And this is just how they're gonna look when they arrive in your classroom. Take a look at that. There's about 50 little eggs in there. So I'm gonna hold it right here for just a few seconds. If you look very closely, you can see those two little dots inside each egg. Those are the fish's eyes. So the eggs have eyed up, which is pretty amazing. And if you look carefully, you might see one move. So if I move the gauze, you might see them move around a little bit. Okay, so the next part, I'm gonna need two hands. So I'm gonna put it on a tripod and get a shot from the top of the eggs going in, and then we'll have it recorded from the camera on the front also. So here's a close-up of the tank. And you'll be looking at it kind of from this view, okay? Remember, there's the temperature I told you about in the back. It says 56.5. That thermometer in the back is reading about 3 degrees high. So it's really about 53.5 degrees. Okay, but it's got some rocks in there. What we're trying to do here in the tank is recreate the natural environment for the steelhead. So there's some river rock on the bed, a lot of gravel, which is where the eggs will be laid. So they'll be buried in that up to a foot in some cases. And the eggs will lay there for maybe 1 to 2 weeks until they hatch. And it's somewhat temperature dependent. So the warmer the water, the faster the eggs are gonna hatch. And the colder the water, the slower it's gonna take for them to hatch. Okay, so let's look at it from the top. We are looking at the top of the tank now, and I have the eggs in the gauze, just as you saw on the table a second ago. And I'm gonna open those back up again. And we're gonna release the eggs now. This is pretty exciting. So I'm gonna be so careful here to make sure that my hand is over the tank when I do that, just in case if any eggs fall, they're gonna go right into the water, okay? So let's go ahead and let them in gently. And you might see some eyes move here. If you can see them there, okay, they're gonna get dropped in right in front of the other camera. There they go. And they're all in. So let's go ahead and move down here really quick. They're all right in front there. And that's where they're gonna rest for 1 to 2 weeks until they hatch into little alvin, and then they'll grow into fry. You can see some moving around. They're actually alive, and they're gonna move. See the one in the front on the bottom there? He's moving around. This is pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm gonna close the cover here. Make sure they stay cool. Thanks for watching.
Make sure you watch the streaming video and take a close look at those eggs to see if you can see the eyes move. Bye-bye.
For those of you who are watching this, if you had a little bit of trouble with the video and the audio not being quite synced up, we're going to give you a link where you can watch that again later. As a matter of fact, we're going to give you a link to that video. We're going to give you a link to a camera where you can watch those eggs 24/7 whenever you want. We're also going to give you a link to where you can ask questions of a biologist. Right now, I want to introduce you to my friend Shelley Spriggs. She's with Sonoma Water. Now, she knows a lot about steelhead. She's a steelhead expert. She's a wildlife tracker, and she is an expert environmental educator. Are you ready for us, Shelley?
I am. Thanks, Ethan. Hi, friends. Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Shelley, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. Can you hear me? All right. So I just want to start off by saying how grateful I am that you all are staying safe and tuning in from home, and how grateful I am that we all live in a beautiful place. We are so lucky that we all get to live on this amazing planet. I'm here today along the Russian River. So I'm in Northern California, I'm in Sonoma County, and I'm along the lower reach of the Russian River. The entire river is 110 miles long. And where I am today, like I said, in the lower reach, I'm about 25 miles from the Pacific Ocean as the salmon swims. And this amazing river and its watershed support so much life. So what is a watershed? Well, I like to think of a watershed as a basin of relation. You can do this with me. You can kind of cup your hands and make like a little bowl. And so this reminds us that a watershed is a bowl, it's a basin. It collects water from all the surrounding mountains, and it's through that water that everything is connected, a basin of relationship. We're all connected to each other. And the truly amazing thing is that we share our water with the steelhead and salmon, our home, our watershed, our water. We share this with them. So when we start to think about what do these amazing little steelhead eggs need to survive? What do they need to be healthy? Well, it might not surprise you that what they need is very similar to what we need. We all need clean water. Everything alive needs water to survive. And these little steelhead eggs are no different. We all need clean water, and clean water comes from healthy watersheds. So while we're at home, it's a great time to be thinking about what can we do to keep our home, our habitat, our watershed healthy, to keep the salmon and the steelhead healthy. And so we saw in Tom's tank, he has some nice, clean, fresh water. And out in nature, that water would, at least here in our county, be mostly provided by rain, maybe some snow melt in some other places. And so that clean water is so important, but it's also important for the little eggs that they have cold water. So Tom showed us that he's keeping the tank the perfect temperature for our little eggs. And out in nature, the steelhead eggs will still depend on this cool water, and they depend on the shade of the trees. I bet you can imagine being outside on a hot day and looking for a place that would be cooler and more comfortable. And so those trees, they're shading over the creeks and the streams, and they're cooling that water, keeping it just perfect for our little steelhead eggs. So take care of your trees. Remember, that's something we can do. And so the little eggs, they also need plenty of oxygen. Again, just like us, we are getting our oxygen through the air, but they are taking in their oxygen under the water through their gills. So they need plenty of oxygen. Tom has that all set up in the tank. And in nature, the female will make her nest in the perfect place so that her eggs get all of the oxygen that they need. And they also need a cozy nest, a safe place to grow and rest, a healthy place to live and grow up. Sounds like something we need too. A place that has all the things they need to survive. Like food, they need nourishment just like us. And as you know, at first, this nourishment is provided by their egg sac. But after that, well, what does happen after that? Do you remember the salmon life cycle? Do you know it? I know a fun way to remember the salmon life cycle, so I'm hoping you'll do this with me. So we all know that the salmon start off as eggs. So you can make your little bowl like you're holding a little precious basket of eggs. And then as the eggs develop, they will eventually hatch. And those eggs are going to hatch into Ilvin. And these little things are so amazing. It's like they're a little fish, but they're swimming around with a lunchbox attached to their body. That egg sac is attached to their body. And so for that one, we're going to go Alvin like this and make a big egg sac. So we have egg and we have Alvin. And then what comes up next after that? Well, they continue to grow and eventually they absorb that egg sac and they button up. And so you can't see that anymore. And at that point, we call them a small fry. So you could do that with me. We have egg, Alvin, small fry. And then they keep growing, they get a little bit bigger, and they might get to about the size of our index finger. And at that point, we call them fingerling. They're developing these little par marks, like dots or stripes on the sides of their bodies. And so we call them fingerling. So we have egg, Alvin, small fry, and fingerling. And they continue to grow. And the next stage we call smolts. And the smolts are juveniles. They have lost their par marks. They're starting to become silvery as they prepare to head out towards the ocean. You can think of smolts as like teenagers that are learning to drive. So for that, we're gonna get our steering wheels out and we'll go smolt. So we have egg, Alvin, small fry, fingerling, smolt, and then they'll grow into full grown adults. And so we'll do that for that one. So we have egg, Alvin, small fry, fingerling, smolt, adults. And those adults will go out into the ocean, and when it's time, they'll come back and the whole cycle repeats over and over again. So amazing. So the last thing that we're going to talk about what these eggs need from us is they need us to take care of their habitat. So Tom is taking care of their habitat in the tank, but it's also really important that we are taking care of their natural habitat as well, because their home is our home. And it's not just the fish we share with, right? There's also the other water creatures. There's the mammals and birds, trees and wildflowers, wind and water. We all share our habitat. We all share our home. And now, maybe more than ever, we're all studying our homes, right? We're all home. And so the word ecology comes to mind. It actually means the study of home. Say that with me, even you big kids. The study of home. So we are all ecologists right now. So let's do it. Let's study our homes. Let's get to know our habitats, practice taking care of them and the fish. You know, we'll be thinking like scientists. We'll be noticing and wondering, asking questions and making connections. And so as you're doing that, you know, be curious. And as you watch these steelhead eggs hatch and develop, be curious there as well. Ask your questions. And if you're having trouble finding the answer to a question, maybe you can submit it to us for Ask a Biologist. In fact, I think Ask a Biologist is coming up next. Is that right, Ethan?
That's absolutely right. Thank you, Shelley. That was a great overview of steelhead. I want to share with you now my friend Derek. Derek Acom is a real live fisheries biologist. He works with me in the Department of Fish and Wildlife. He's an environmental scientist. Now, he has a super cool job as well, because what he gets to do, he's paid for this, by the way, he gets to hike creeks to measure salmon and steelhead habitat. He gets to catch and count little baby juvenile steelhead, salmon and steelhead, and he gets to watch restoration projects where people are working to improve the habitat. That's what he gets to do every day. When I grow up, I want to be Derek. Hey, Derek, can you help out answering a few questions?
Yeah, I can help out, Ethan. I'm really super excited to hear these questions. And Shelley, do you have some of our first classroom questions?
I do. I'm so excited to share them with you. We have some questions here that were submitted from Ohlone Elementary School. And so Derek, your first question comes to us from Kara. I'm going to do my best to pronounce these names, Kara or Kara. asks us, how are steelhead trout different from rainbow trout?
Hey, good morning, Cara. Steelhead trout or steelhead and rainbow trout are the same species. The biggest difference between the two is that steelhead have gone and lived in the ocean while rainbow trout spend their whole life in fresh water. Because the ocean is full of food, steelhead grow much, much bigger than the trout do. While in the ocean, the steelhead also change their color. They silver up